Hello and welcome to Odds on Serie A Match Day
Ciao, ciao.
12, the match day where we are going to see the derby in Rome, Derby della Capitale, Dani, and perhaps this is a two-horse race again, Inter and Juve?
Well, it seems so because Milan lost unexpectedly against Udinese. Napoli are 7 points behind and they are stuttering. And guess what's next after the international break? Juventus, Inter.
Derby d'Italia. We were about to talk about my Milan's crisis, but they won in the
Oh,
Champions
they
League,
won.
so it's a little bit of cyclotimic team. Let's talk a little bit about Milan, about Juve, about all the teams, of course, in Serie A. So, guys, remember to follow the video, to comment the video, to subscribe, to like the video, and now let's go on with the show. And the most important thing, of course, to enjoy the video. This is why we are here. And if you are looking for a bookmaker, remember that we have a partnership with 1xBet. Get 520 euros or dollars. It's a very good welcome offer, only in Oddspedia, only using this promo code, Danny the Goat. We have already Danny Lieber. We can call him Danny. On Friday, 2 games, Sassuolo.
Yes.
Salernitana is a team impossible to trust. A terrible record, terrible the start of the season, another defeat against Napoli. But for Sassuolo, the things are not looking great. 3 points away only from relegations. They forgot about winning 6 winless games since that 2 victories back to back.
Yeah, they only beat top teams, Juventus and Inter, and they just basically don't do very well with the rest. But both sides are in a very bad moment. That's why the odds for Sassuolo are quite high. Normally, I think they would be a little bit lower. Already 6 defeats this season for Sassuolo. They're the second worst tally since they are in Serie A. They got 7 in 2017-2018. No wins in 4 at the Mapei. Also a 0-0 draw against Spezia, who plays in Serie B in Coppa Italia. So against Torino, they deserve to lose as well. 0 clean sheets for both of these sides. Salernitana conceded 2 or more goals in 7 occasions. Also, they failed to score in 7 out of 11 games. It really looks bad for Salernitana. And by the way, there are only 3 teams in the 5 major European leagues without a win. One is Salernitana. Can you name the other 2?
I can. Lyon and Almeria.
There we go. Lyon and Almeria. And who are the most likely to get relegated? Probably of these 3, I would say Almeria. And Salernitana, Lyon should get better, we hope, at least with Fabio Grosso. Well, if Salernitana doesn't win at the Mapei Stadium against Sassuolo, they will become the 30th team in the history of Serie A not to win in any of their first 12 Serie A games. Only 3 of these teams have avoided relegation. So things really, really bad for La Salernitana that keeps conceding goals. I like the odds for Sassuolo. I could go for a Sassuolo win, it's good enough. But why don't be a little bit more ambitious? Minus 0.75 on the handicap for Sassuolo, 188. If they win by only 1 goal margin, you win half a stake.
2 games around the relegation on Friday, because the other one is Genoa, Verona, and we have Verona in relegation spots, no improvements, another defeat, this time against Monza, 5 consecutive defeats, winless in 10, and Genoa, Dani, they are only 3 points away from Verona because they also lost an important 6-pointer game about relegation against Cagliari.
For Verona, it's panic station now, for sure, officially. No wins since September, only 2 points in the last 9, same as Salernitana, 4 defeats in a row, as you mentioned. Last year, between September and November, they lost 5, and that's when they sacked Cioffi. So is Baroni at risk? Well, at the beginning of the season, I said Verona looks a little bit better compared to last season. They got more options up front with 6 players, the likes of Folorunsho, Ngonge, Juric, Saponara, Bonazzoli, interchangeable, but they really, really struggle to control games. They will be bottom of Serie A based on expected goal points, so they are overachieving, really, and they travel to Marassi without 2 important players, Lazovic and Davidovic at the back. Genoa won 2 of the last 3 at home. Only 2 clean sheets in 11 matches, though, for Genoa. Retegui still injured. They produced. They don't have the terminal there. And as our friend Mustafa says, under 2.25 goals for me, 181.
Not many goals. Well, let's find better games, Danny. On Saturday, Lecce, Milan. I said at the beginning that perhaps we were talking about Pioli being under pressure, perhaps risking axed and being out of his job, but they bounced back against PSG, I think, when no one expected. Milan won. Rafael Leao did a great job against PSG, and now it's time to beat Lecce and get also a victory in Serie A.
It was enough just to mention the name of Ibrahimovic, probably returning in a management role, and Milan all of a sudden came out of the shell and produced a great night, a great win against PSG. They won like a team. Poor Pioli. They even took these songs out from the playlist. Pioli's on fire, etc., etc. But they took it out. I mean, poor guy. And yeah, he's under pressure. But Milan demonstrated that they are a team. They're a team that when they got their backs against the wall, they can react, and probably PSG are not. They only had one tactic, ball to Mbappe, and let's hope to he will save us. Milan were really, really, really well, and I think Pioli was spot on with his tactic. He's very good at changing the tactics of the team in due course, as he did last year when Milan were going through a rough patch. That January, March, when he reverted to a back three. Now with a 4-2-3-1, Reinders close to Musa, who provides a lot of protection to the defense, and Reinders have got more space to invent. But the best player on the pitch was, aside from Leao, Ruben Loftus-Cheek, in a position almost like a number 10, closer to the strikers, really good box to box, and that's probably the best position for him. Also Leao on the left delivered finally on a big night. Now obviously that shows that the team is still with the manager. The issue is it's easy perhaps to get motivated in a Champions League against PSG. Milan needs to do it consistently against small teams, and that's why the game against Lecce could be tricky. If you look at the 2023 year, Milan have been disappointing so far. They only won 20 out of 46 games, lost 14, so basically is a defeat every 3 games, don't score many goals, 58, only kept 17 clean sheets out of 46 games, and conceded the first goal only in 20 occasions, only won 2 games when they conceded first, Cagliari and PSG. That's why the win on Wednesday is even more important. But they travel to Lecce, which are in crisis. And I think, again, similar to Verona, initially they overachieved. Probably we overestimate them. I think they're going to be fighting for relegation from now on. They will be third from bottom based on expected points. They conceded the first goal in 8 out of 11 occasions. They're without Almquist, who is injured. Deserve to lose against Roma regardless of how the game finished. Only collect 2 points in the last 6 games. Trust Milan, trust the Rossoneri, trust Pioli. I mean, 181, how good is that for an odds? But be ambitious, 0.75 on the handicap, 203. If they win by 1 goal margin, you win still, Alpha Stake.
Santa is telling you or us, don't complicate it. Keep the momentum.
I'm not complicating it. I'm not complicating.
Milan to win, Giroud to score at any time.
Yes, that's true.
Well, on Saturday, also we have Juventus, Cagliari, only 2 points away from Inter. Juve, another victory, 2-0, another 1-0 victory, 4 consecutive now. No goals conceded in 6, and the good news for Cagliari is that they are out of the relegation zone, 4 games without defeat, even in the Coppa. Since that defeat against Roma, they are another team, or they are getting results. Danny?
It's the first time Cagliari are out of the relegation zone in the season, so momentum is with them. They finally managed to convert the chances they created. Ranieri is finding the best 11, but he's also very good with his substitution to make sure that everyone is important. Only Napoli have scored more goals, 7, with players who come from the bench, than Cagliari, 6. So it is a team that often scores in the second half or with the substitutes. But now they fight against the mighty Juve, the beast, the nil-nil beast, the clean sheet beast. 6 consecutive clean sheets, 8 clean sheets in total. Very similar to last year. If you remember, between November and January, they collected a Serie A clean sheet. Then they went to the Maradona, lost 5-1. I'm not saying that this is what's going to happen to Juventus against Inter, but I think in their approach and in their tactics, they are very, very similar to last season, and it is understandable. Allegri lacks a midfield of any sort of quality, okay? Without Fagioli, without Pogba. For this one, he will also miss Rabiot. So it's obvious that he's going to revert back to the basics, make them difficult to beat, make them hard to beat, nick a goal on a counter-attack. The goal that Miretti scored against Fiorentina is a beauty in terms of the movement for the counter-attack. Then they spend 89 minutes defending. But to be fair, Fiorentina never gave me the impression they were going to score. They huffed and puffed. They crossed. I got a very good stat about Fiorentina's crossing in the next section when we talk about them. But Juventus control well, and they are doing it without Alexandro, without Danilo, without Fagioli, without Pogba. So they need to be applauded in this case. Of course, they don't score many goals. They don't need to because they keep a clean sheet. Only 17 goals scored, less than Atalanta and Fiorentina. They are 2 points behind Inter, 7 points more in the table compared to last year. Tactically, technically, I would struggle to find a difference with what the Juventus have done. Look, they got an excellent record against lower table sides. 18 wins without conceding against small teams since last year. Are they going to win? I think they are. Is it going to be an over spectacular game? No. Under 2.75 goals, 184.
Of course, Juve to win 2-0 could be another option. Mustafa is telling us Asian handicap plus 1.5 for Cagliari. This pays 1.6.
Yes,
so this is interesting. It's another way to read the game. So even if they lose by 1 goal, which is happening in the last games, you are correct and you win money. So it could be a very good option going for that, Mustafa. Well, from the mighty Juve, Allegri being so happy, winning all the games 1-0, the happiest man in Italy probably, to Monza, Torino. Danny, growing Monza this season, beat Verona after the draw with Udinese, only 1 defeat in the last 8, and it was only 1-0 at the Olimpico. Torino also in a good run with back-to-back victories against Sassuolo and Lecce, probably 2 teams that should be in position 10, position 8 this season.
Yeah, it's mid-table. Yeah, this is the real middle class of Italy, if you like. Monza, of course, up and coming because they were promoted last year. Torino, much more established and with ambition to finish in the top 7. Will they finish in the top 7? Of these 2 teams, I am not sure. They still got a bit of deficiency. I think Monza score far too less, although they scored 3 against Verona, for what they produce. Torino, home form is a little bit patchy. But last time Torino won 3 consecutive Serie A matches was in September 2019 under Walter Mazzarri. So you need to be careful if you're backing them to win here. However, they are very good away from home. Since last March, only Inter, who have won 9 out of 12 away games, have collected more away points than Torino, who won 7 out of 11. Torino have kept 7 away clean sheets since March last year. So they are a side that when they play away, when they don't have to necessarily dominate the ball, they do well. 3-5-2, compact. Now with the return of Zapata, really important, playing alongside Sanabria, who finally scored on Monday after 169 days. Things look up well. He's still a little bit short at the back, Juric, because there are the injury of Schurz, Rodriguez, Kofi Gigi. So Tameze is basically a makeshift fullback and is doing well alongside Buongiorno. On the other side, Monza, I know most of the games on Monza have been under 2.5 goals, but I think the numbers are a little bit deceptive because if you look at Monza's keeper, Di Gregorio, he has already made 41 saves, second only to Frosinone, and the expected goal for Monza against are 15.77 instead of the 10 that they conceded. So again, they are overperforming in that regards. I think you have to start looking at expected goals every now and then when you look at betting. Anyway, last season, Monza conceded 52 goals in Serie A. Only 6 teams have done worse. Only ever been involved in a 1-0 draw against Bologna in 49 games. Both to score for me. 195. I think that's what the value is.
Probably a 1-1 this game, 100% draw, as our friend Tom Rennie would say. Screams draw. This Monza Torino could be. You mentioned middle class Italy, Danny, and I thought about Fiat immediately.
Yes, Fiat Uno, Fiat Panda. Yes, I mean that's the typical car. Fiat. Everyone. Sì.
Exactly. Middle class, Monza, Torino. Well, there is a lot of money in these cities.
Yeah, especially Monza. That's where Berlusconi, Galliani, etc. But yeah, that's in terms of football, middle class, not still high class.
High class is Napoli on Sunday midday. More or less coming to the table to the higher class in Europe. Napoli. Yes. Empoli playing in the Champions League, they broke Union Berlin's record, actually. They lost 12 games in a row. Then we see the Maradona and draw. To be honest, they are so poor at home in this season. It's strange. Only 2 victories at the Maradona for Napoli, but I guess we should expect them to beat Empoli. It's a really poor team, and they are back into the relegation spots. Remember, only 4 goals scored this season for Empoli.
Well, if Napoli manages not to concede a goal from a corner in favor, as they did against Berlin at a counter-attack, I think they'll have a good chance. But it's true. The Maradona is having a bad effect this season. So far, already lost to Lazio, Fiorentina, Real Madrid, drop points against Milan, against Union Berlin. It seems almost like Spalletti the first year when he was in charge, when they were losing so many games at home and they squandered the chances to fight for the Scudetto back then. They are much better away from home, 2.33 points per game in the league. And yes, it is difficult for Napoli, because if they don't start rack up the points and the 3 points, Inter soon is going to be out of distance. I found this statistic that is very interesting to tell you how difficult it will be for Napoli to win the league again. Since 2004, only Juventus in 2015-2016, when they had that awful start, managed to win the Serie A after collecting less than 22 points after 11 games. Now, Napoli have got 21 points at the moment. Juventus back then had 15 points and managed to win the league, but it's a very difficult task. However, they are getting better results against struggling side at the moment. They won against Udinese, Lecce, Verona, Salernitana, scored 13, only conceding 1. They are very pragmatic. I think Rudy Garcia is getting the basic rights, at least. They are not spectacular. They don't keep the ball very well. They tend to play direct and long. Yes, against Union Berlin, they got unstuck. But normally, in the league against lesser sides, they get the job done. They got the second best attack of Serie A, first for shots, and Empoli's goalkeeper normally is one of the busiest. Third for saves made. 8 defeats in 11 games for Empoli, already beaten by Juventus, Inter, Roma, and Atalanta. So it's a negative record. Where is the value here? Half-time, full-time market. Half-time, full-time Napoli. So Napoli to win a 45 minutes and a 90 minutes, that pays 180.
Well, Napoli should win. Napoli to win and over 2.5 goals. Napoli to win 2-0. Napoli to win both halves. All these options difficult for Empoli to grab points. Here, very interesting the next game, Fiorentina. Bologna, really good odds for Bologna, now in European position. This was Italy middle class usually. Bologna, but perhaps they can play in Europe next season. Beat Lazio, only 1 defeat this season. Away, they've drawn every single game. This is odd to say the least. And Fiorentina, Danny, 3 consecutive defeats in Serie A without scoring a single goal. What is going on there?
Yes, they're finding really, really hard. And against Juventus, it was a typical frustrating Fiorentina night. They controlled the game, controlled the tempo, had a lot of chances, a lot of possession. They ended up crossing the ball into Juventus box 43 times, excluding the corners. But they never looked like they were about to score. Yes, Chesney made a couple of saves, but really they looked toothless. It's a bad moment for Beltran, Fonzola, they only score 1 goal apiece. It's basically, if Inigo Gonzalez doesn't turn up with a bit of magic, they are struggling, and they failed to score now in 3 consecutive Serie A games. Fiorentina never happened before under Vincenzo Italiano, so they need to turn this around very, very quickly. Don't get me wrong, I think the Fiorentina season so far is good. They got plus 7 points compared to last year, but Bologna is even better, plus 8 points compared to last season. So they have improved a lot. They are unbeaten in 10 games, Bologna. That's their longest unbeaten streak since 79-80. And they have recorded the best ever start in Serie A since 2002-2003, thanks to the 1 win against Lazio. Bologna looks tidy, organized, good on the ball. They got players that are technical. Why can they not be considered a real contender for a top 7 finish? Because they don't have so far a very prolific striker. Joshua Zirkzee is interesting. He's a good assist man. He makes good runs, but is he clinical enough? We will see. Anyway, Bologna, we know they got a habit of taking points out of top teams. In 2023, they are unbeaten in 12 games against Inter, Juventus, Napoli, Lazio, Atalanta, Roma, Milan, and of course, Fiorentina, who they beat 2-1 back in February at the Artemio Franchi. A must-win game, I think, for Fiorentina. Only kept 5 clean sheets in 19 games so far. Tonight, they travel to Serbia in the Conference League against Cucarichi. Over 2.5 goals, 196.
Goals at the Frankie, Bologna to score in the second half. For instance, for Mustafa, the Bruin thinks Bologna have potential to finish in top 7. Could be that.
I don't know. As I said, it's about the striker. I think they do lack a clinical striker. But considering Fiorentina's bad form, and maybe one of the 2 Roman sides might slip out of the but not out of the top 7. Really, it will be amazing. But look out for Thiago Motta. I think he's the next manager on the move to a top team, either in Italy or abroad.
Okay, Hussein is going for a draw in this game. Next one is Udinese Atalanta, out of the relegation zone now. Udinese, after the victory in San Siro, no one expected that. Probably the change of manager now is working, undefeated in 5, even if we are seeing a lot of draws also in Udinese's fixtures. And Dani, Atalanta lost to Inter, but beat Empoli away 3-0. The odds are even good to back Atalanta, I would say, over 2. But this Udinese could be dangerous now?
Well, it could be in the sense that they got the morale up. First win after 14 games. And I think against Milan, they executed the game plan well. They knew they were not able to control the ball or the game, but they have quick players, especially on the wing, and that's how the goal was generated. It was a foul or a penalty, but yes, I think they were clever in that respect, not to get too overexposed and try to hit Milan on the counter. Pereira did a very good game. Pereira, who by the way was a free agent. Udinese didn't renew his contract. Then they realized, oh well, we are a bit short in the team. Come back and play for us, and he's still probably the best player. Udinese really struggled to score with their attackers. Atalanta conceded the first goals at home of the season against Inter. As I told you, I wasn't really sure about this impenetrable Atalanta. It takes a good team to score against them, but Inter are a good team. Atalanta, without the Catellare injury, they got a couple of players missing as well in midfield. There is an interesting stat here. If you want to go for a low cards game, these 2 sides are in the bottom 4 for yellow cards. They don't get many yellow cards. They don't make many fouls. Maybe one of Udinese's problem. They should be a little bit more aggressive. Average less than 1.8 yellow card for game, so maybe an under 5.5 cards. But Udinese is not a high scoring side. Only 3 games have been over 2.5 goals. Atalanta away from home won 3, lost 3, always scored away from home. always over 2.5 goals when Atalanta plays away from home, score 2 against Sporting, score 2 against Sturm Graz away, so they are a good side. I backed them a little bit. Asian handicap minus 0.25 for Atalanta, 175. What does it actually mean? If they win, you win. But if they draw, you only lose half a stake, because this is a very difficult one to call.
It is a double chance for Atalanta and under 3.5 goals. The Bruin is telling us. Blair is asking what DMB means. Draw no bets. There is a draw. You get your money back. It's kind of an insurance, same as Asian Handicap 0. Next game, Dani, Derby della Capitale. One of my favorite games all over Europe, of course. Last season, Lazio won both games. Probably a bit disappointed. Both teams so far in the season. Is still time to turn the situation around, because Lazio, they are alive in the Champions League after that victory against Feyenoord. Roma, they won against Lecce in the very last minute. Always the atmosphere at the Olimpico is special. 4 wins in the last 5 Serie A games, but still both teams probably far from the top 4 where they should be, or around the top 4.
A real 6-pointer, because I think either one of the two will finish in the top 4, not both of them, but they might all both miss out, depending how good Milan and Napoli are this season. I think the last 3 days in Rome have been very exciting, because Roma managed to win that dramatic game against Lecce that they were losing until the 90th minutes, and that probably turned the season around. Had they lost that, really, they would have had a mountain to climb even to finish in the top 4. Whereas Lazio, they won against Feyenoord. Now the qualification in the Champions League is in their hands. And they were really, really pragmatic. They only had 1 shot on target, kept the ball for the 38% of the time, so the opposite of Sarri ball. But Sarri said it very plainly. We knew we were going to suffer against them after we scored the goal. We wanted to leave them the ball and try to hit them on the break. I think it's a Lazio that is way below the level they showed last season, not only because they lost the main man, Milinkovic-Savic, who contributed to 17 between goals and assists, but because they struggled to create, really. They are 13th for shots in Serie A, Lazio, and they don't score many goals. They got the 11th expected goal in Serie A, so expected goal they should have scored worse than Udinese and Cagliari. But on the other hand, they're not even that solid at the back. They only kept 2 clean sheets against Fiorentina and Feyenoord in the 9 games they played against top opposition, so Italy, top teams, and the Champions League. On average, on these 9 games, they conceded 13.4 shots per game. So really, they're not really good at the back either. Roma, on the other hand, defensively, I don't think they are better. They average more than 1 goal conceded per game in Serie A, only kept 3 clean sheets in Serie A against Empoli, Monza, and Frosinone, all at the Olimpico. There is a bit of bad luck there as well, because Chris Smalling only played 3 games so far this season, and is by far the best defender. Also, some bad form. Mancini, Rui Patrizio, his performances have been questionable. He's below average for post-shot expected goals. Now I'm getting really technical here. So basically, he should have conceded less goals than what he has, bearing in mind how dangerous those shots were. But Roma have got goals in them. I think unlike Lazio, they got more goals in them, with Dybala and Lukaku playing up top. They're always going to be dangerous. Lukaku has scored just 1 goal less than Lazio, 3 top scorers altogether. By the way, Roma plays tonight in Prague. The war of words between Mourinho, Sarri, Lotito has already started. Sarri said, well, Roma plays 48 hours after us, but they play a friendly in Prague, whereas we were going to be very tired against Feyenoord. And Mourinho replied, I give my opponent a lot of respect because I won 29 titles more than him, and that's what it means to us. Lotito, the Lazio president, in the meantime, says if the Romanisti are going to lose, they're going to hide for a while. So they're going to be, I think it's going to be a quite tense game. Probably they're going to be a few cards. Both to score for me, 195.
Great atmosphere always in the Derby della Capitale. Again, Lazio won 1-0 last season, both games, and we haven't seen a draw in the last 6 derbies, by the way.
Yes,
maybe it's
yes.
time to break that record. Who knows?
That's true. It could be. There was a period across the 90s where they always ended in a draw. Often it was a 1-1. If you look at the stats, there were a lot of 1-1. But look, it's more than a simple game. Between these two sides that rarely compete for the Scudetto, the derby, it's the game of the year almost. And as I said, probably only one of them is going to finish on the top 4, so it's even more important.
Well, Danny, the last game in this match day is Inter Frosinone. Difficult to find good odds here. Perhaps we should put Lautaro to score in the mix. 12 goals already in the Serie A. He scored a beauty against Atalanta. Also, he scored in the Champions League. Frosinone in the middle of the table, they score plenty of goals. Perhaps we could see also both teams to score if you want to spice it up, because Inter to win is only 1.2.
Inter, who, by the way, are already qualified to the knockout stage of the Champions League, the only Italian teams to do it. They did it well. 1-0 win at Salzburg. It's an easy group, okay? With Benfica, they really struggle.
Not that easy, in my opinion.
Now, for me, it's easy. For me, it's an easy group because your best team there, your second best team, Benfica, is really struggling, and that opening up the group a bit. But Salzburg are a young side, only qualify once for knockout stages in their history. Real Sociedad is impressive as well, but we'll see. Obviously, now they need to play the return game at San Siro. But Inter were seeded, so that's almost expected from them. But well done, because qualifying early. They haven't qualified so early for the Champions League knockout series since 2004, so it's something to cherish. And that means that the trip to Lisbona, it's obviously a little bit easier on the back of that game against Juventus. Let's talk a little bit about Frosinone, because they are 11th in the table, already won 4 games this season, which is a lot. Empoli, Verona, Sassuolo, Atalanta, plus they beat Torino in Coppa Italia. They do score both 9 on. They only they were scoreless in only 2 games in Serie A. Only 1 clean sheet though they keep, and they won against Empoli, a very young side with Soale, with Bremer, and now with Cooney scoring his first goal. A very good back heel, almost as good as the Mancini or Zola one, and Ibrahimovic, not Zlatan, Arion, 17 years old, goal and assist, both products of Bayern Academy. Look, so far we have to say that the gamble has paid off. A new manager, Di Francesco, who likes to play attacking football, a very young side, average age is around 21. They go for it. They're dynamic, energetic, and yes, they play good football and they take risks. So if they get saved, it's going to be really, really a miracle for them, but deserved. The only risk for Inter is that they underestimate this game a little bit, because it's the last game of the match day. They play on Sunday. There is the international break. A lot of Inter players are going to be away with the national team. They might switch off a little bit and and underestimate. So maybe the angle is an under 3.5 goals here, 191, because you say, well, okay, Fiorentina have scored a lot of goals, but Inter have got a very strong defense, although they miss a couple of players. And on the other hand, after a Champions League night, they might be tired, they might be still euphoric. As I said, they might be underestimated a little bit. Under 3.5 goals, 191.
Okay, and Inter to win both halves. For instance, Hussein thinks Frosinone will be in the score sheet. After this international break, as Danny said, we have Juve Inter. We have as well, for instance, Liverpool Man City. So plenty of good games after this international break. Danny, an important international break, by the way, for Italy.
For us, it's crucial because we have to beat North Macedonia first, which is not a given considering the recent results, and then go to Leverkusen. If Italy beats North Macedonia, they need a draw in Leverkusen against Ukraine. If they lose in Leverkusen, it's a playoff once again.
Well, we will have some videos next week to analyze the international fixtures. Danny, in the meantime, tell me your safe bet. Here.
Napoli against Empoli at home. Napoli Asian handicap -1, 132.
Okay, probably it's even higher. I think the odds for Napoli Asian handicap -1 should be, I think, 1.4 or something like this. The highest odds, always check on Oddspedia, of course. And Danny Yoraka?
Juventus has an handicap -1, Monza Torino over 2 goals, Fiorentina Bologna over 2 goals, and Roma has an handicap +0.25. The total odds for you are 6.20.
Okay. Actually, I just checked and the odds are correct.
Correct. Okay, good.
1.33.
Well, after yesterday draw, they could have gone up a little bit.
Yeah,
I checked them before the game. So yeah, it's a good idea. Check Oddspedia. The odds are always up to date.
133 right now. Thank you, Danny. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Ciao.